All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are halfway through October with nonstop science exploration, conservation action coming your way. If you haven't visited the site yet this month, head to exploringbytheseat.com. You can find all the live action we have coming up, including space exploration. So October, we always celebrate the astronauts, the engineers, and the scientists who are exploring our solar system and beyond, but of course, turning a lens back on our planet so we can explore it in ways we never could before. Now, one of our favorite things to do is to go out live into the field. And we've got something pretty special today. We're going to head out live to the research Icebreaker, the Amundsen. It's a 98-meter long vessel designed to navigate through thick ice in the Arctic. They are currently there right now on expedition. We've had a few connections with them. We connected while they were still in port in Quebec, getting ready to head out on the expedition. A few weeks ago, we connected while they were taking some core samples on the ship. And today is going to be really special because we have classrooms across the Arctic tuning in live with us, as well as some classrooms in other locations as well. Yeah, let me bring in the team from backstage. Here we go. Oh, there they are. They slipped around on me, but I got them now. Hey, Amundsen team, how are we doing?
Hi, guys. A lot good. Good morning.
All right. Great to see you. Can you just check with me? Are you hearing me okay? Is the sound coming through all right?
Yes, I got you 5 by 5.
Okay. A couple classrooms are saying they're struggling with sound, but it could be connectivity on their end because the locations are a little bit more remote, but we'll do our best and see how we can do. And then, of course, we'll share the recording with all the groups as well, so you can check out the recording if connectivity didn't quite connect 100%. But Amundsen team, we are so excited to have you live with us. Your connection looks really good for being in a remote area. And we're excited to learn a little bit about what you've been up to and then explore the ship a bit. And then hopefully we'll have lots of questions.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So I guess I'll start with an introduction. My name is Alicia Wilson-Maxlagok. I'm here with the Amundsen science team. I'm working as their oceanographic instrumentation intern. So basically, that's a long-winded way of saying I'm helping with our Rosette operation, so water sampling. And behind the camera, we have Judith.
If you want to.
She'll
Hey
say
guys, I'm gonna be filming the live stream for today. So go. Okay, so we can start.
So I guess we'll kick off our little virtual tour with this spare room that we're in. So this is our crew lounge. This is where a lot of our science meetings and presentations happen. And on a more leisurely side, we also have some fun activities that goes on in this room. We've done some yoga. We have a lot of movie nights. I don't know if you guys are aware. Well, I'm sure our Igloolik crew is aware that we've had some really bad weather a few days ago. So there's been a lot of movie nights and spending time together in this room. So I guess I'll take us outside to our next spot.
Hey. Thank you.
Right. So this staircase here will take us up to the back of the boat or the stern. And at the stern, we have our helicopter garage and helipad. So I believe the helicopter is out right now. So we got very lucky with timing. Oh, maybe not.
It's not there anymore. Oh. Got stuff right here.
Yeah. So here is the Canadian Coast Guard's helicopter. As some of you may know, in some of our remote communities across the Arctic region, we're not unable to dock at the community. So the helicopter, along with the Zodiac, is how we get to and from shore. As well as this helicopter is also used for search and rescue events and such and so forth. Maybe we can take a quick peek at the garage. I don't believe we're allowed in there without supervision, so we won't go too far in. But this is where we have all of our helicopter operations. This is how we boarded the boat earlier this month. And we'll take ourselves back down. So this room here is our geology lab. And this is a good representation of what most of the labs on ship looks like. We'll see if there's anybody inside. Yeah, we have a few. Hi. Hello. We are back.
Hi, Zoe.
Let's go on.
Good. How are you?
Good.
What are you doing today?
This is our methane inline system, and so this constantly measures the gas methane and the gas nitrous oxide, and so it's going to give constant data on the concentrations in the ocean.
Nice. Thank you. Okay.
So, as you can see, science can get a little messy. We've been working some crazy night shifts these past few days, so we've been go, go, go. But this is an example of what one of our laboratories is like.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
There were a lot of noise in this room also.
So, right now, I'm walking down the port side or the left side of the ship. Fun fact, no matter which way you are facing, this side will always remain port side. It will always be the left side of the boat.
It's some great weather.
You guys got very lucky there's not heavy winds right now. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be able to hear me. So right now, we are approaching our operations deck. It might get a little bit windy here, so I'll speak up a little louder. But essentially, when operations are being held, we are required to use certain personal protective equipment, such as hard hats, steel-toe boots, and floater suits. You can see my example feet. So there's no operations currently going on, so I think Judith and I can get away with just our steel toes for tonight. So we'll come out. So here we have some of our nettings. Not that this is a few different types. Essentially, what this piece of equipment does is we pick up certain, like we have fishing nets that we pick up, obviously fish samples. We have some plankton nets that can pick up either zooplankton or microorganisms. So it'll come into like a really small bottle, and that way we can kind of differentiate and detect the health of the water. And over here, we have our box core. So basically, this piece of equipment is used to collect sediment samples at the ocean floor. So essentially what that means is that we dig a hole into the bottom of the sea floor. A door will close, pick up the sample, and everything will come up. And these sediment samples are used to analyze sort of the physical and chemical properties of the benthic environment, so of the seafloor environment. All of the times with these sediment cores, we can understand sort of the past geological history of the seafloor and how it's changed over the years. We can do some carbon cycle trajectory models, as well as sort of understanding the health of the benthic environment too. With these sediment samples, we can also pick up some organisms such as starfish or sea urchins and just all of those really fun critters at the bottom just to see how their health is looking.
Hey, I just want to pop in for a second. This connection is really great today, nice and clear. We can see everything really well. But I had a request in the chat if we can maybe speak a little slower, slow down a little bit for some of the students so they can catch some of it. Okay.
Oh, yes, of course. So I'll take it a little slower. So here is where we do all of our the majority of our operations. So this giant crane here will pick up all of our pieces of equipment, such as the nets and the box core, and it will essentially come over side of the boat and it will deploy down. I think the deepest we got was just short of 400 meters below sea level, so that's pretty far. And behind here, we have our winch system. So this is all of the cable that we will need, or that will be required to get us to our sample sites. And here we have just a couple additional laboratories. I don't think we're allowed inside them. But yeah, and I think I forgot to mention that right now we are sitting at the front of the boat as well, which is also known as the bow. So we're at the bow of the ship. Yeah. Now we'll take you guys onto the other side, and that's also known as the stern, so the right side of the boat. And we'll pop back inside, quickly warm up our fingers, and nippy out today. So when we're inside, sometimes we have to talk a little bit quieter because we also have people who work night shifts and day shifts on the boat. So sometimes we have to just reduce noise just to make sure that people are getting the proper sleep that they can. So we'll take you guys to our room to give you guys sort of a sense of what life looks like on the boat and where we sleep. So Judith and I are bunkmates, and this is where we reside. This is where we put our head to sleep and just do some of our daily work. We try to clean it up a little bit for you guys. Now we're heading to the rosette room, which is where we take all of our water samples. Oh, okay. So this is our rosette room, and this is the piece of equipment that we use to collect water samples. So as you can see here, we have multiple tubes that we use to collect water samples at different depths in the water column. So, for example, this tube could be used to collect samples at the surface, or this tube could be used to collect samples at the bottom of the sea. And we have a very specialized mechanism. So over here we have our operational room, which is where we control this piece of equipment. And I want to bring your guys' attention down here. So the bottles up top are called the rosette, and down here is called the CTD. And what the CTD does is that we collect different characteristics or different elements in the water column. For example, we can do oxygen readings or nitrogen readings, temperature readings. We also have salinity readings or how salty water is. So this piece of equipment is basically a pump that collects water and takes all of this data in. And then you collect it all and process it over, process all the data next door in the room over here. And I think we can see Pascal how we're processing some of the data we had in the cast earlier today. Let me know if you guys have any. Oh, my water bottle. Yeah, essentially. Essentially, that is the realm that I work in since I've been on board, and I've been helping with all of the present cast, so I'm dealing with all the operations. I think from here, we need to go there.
So while you're heading up higher on the deck, I had a question from our classrooms, our grade 7B, and they were wondering that first lab that we looked at the beginning of the tour, is that for climate change research, that first lab that they looked at?
Sorry, Joe, we cannot hear right now. I think we're gonna go somewhere else so we can hear better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should go somewhere else. So Jack.
So this is our Zodiac. So earlier I had mentioned that there is one of two ways to get on and off the ship. We can't physically jump off it onto the dock ourselves. So our Zodiac here is one of those options to get us off the boat, as well as do other sort of operations. I think the other day we had a science team take the boat off and did some water sampling of their own. So that's just one of the examples of some type of equipment that we have on board. We'll take you guys back down. Okay. Oh yeah, so on board we have a very dedicated staff to feeding us. We have a cooking team, and lately they've been going hard with the desserts, so very, very delicious. So this room comes in handy as we eat all the yummy goodness. So this is the gym. I'll just very quickly peek in. So we have a treadmill, an elliptical, a bike, a rower, and some weights. Sorry, we're actually going to this way. So this piece of equipment, I guess for lack of a better word, is our emergency lifeboat. So in any case of emergency that we have to abandon ship, we would come to this contraption here, and essentially we can come off the boat. It will be taken down, put onto the water, and I believe it could hold up to 50 people. But as you can see, it's kind of small, so we'll be very cramped in together. So hopefully there's never a situation that we have to use this, but in case of emergency, it is there. So next we'll take you guys to the bridge. And I'll do a little bit of explanation before I get in, because they prefer to have that room quiet.
Yeah. We can say hi to Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Tell everybody what we're doing. I'm a marine mammal observer here on board, and I guess my job is to kind of stand here and look for marine mammals and take data on it. I don't have much equipment, but I have my binos here, and I take the distances with these binos. I also have my camera and my IV guides. So if ever I don't know what it could be because it's far away, well, I can just take a picture and then look into, like species ID info, like what kind of blow was it, what was the type of movement when they dove in the water. So that gives us a little bit on what the mammal could be. And yeah, we use the information to understand whales and seals a bit more and how they're doing, like if they're a healthy population or not. We saw a lot of harp seals yesterday migrating toward whelping grounds in the south where they reproduce on the ice. So that was really cool. A couple of bowhead whales too, and we're hoping for more.
Wow, thank you.
No problem. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
So as you notice, science is putting on it. So we entered the bridge of the happens, just skip. In there, that's just a lot of sick. So we'll go and chat with Holly here. She's our bird lady. So we'll take you guys into the bit.
Oh. Okay. Is there? Yeah.
All the acquisition. I'm not entirely sure what goes on in here, but we'll find out.
Here you can speak at the normal volume. Hey.
We're live, just full awareness.
Hello, Josh.
Hello.
So, what are you doing today?
So we're doing a couple things. We're cleaning multi-beam data. So this is basically what the seafloor looks like if we were flying along it. And we can clean data above and below the actual seafloor. So this doesn't look too crazy, but if we go back a little bit, you can see some errors with some areas with some errors. Let's take a second to load. And here we have our map with all our charts on it and our previous data. So we use this to give the bridge a background image to make sure that we're covering new areas. So we're always exploring something new. And also to make sure we don't hit any rocks on the seafloor, which is very important. And then on our other screen, we're looking at the sub-bottom profile. So this is telling us whether there's mud or rocks, what's on the seafloor, and whether it's good for us to core to get a sample. So there's a lot of technical stuff going on, mostly for mapping, figuring out what's on the seafloor, what it looks like, and making sure it's safe for boats to travel over.
Cool, thank you. Hey.
Right.
Can go maybe.
So I think it's our tour. Everywhere else that we'd like to show you guys, the engine room unfortunately doesn't have any access to the internet. So it just kind of limits our stuff upstairs. But I think at this point, Josh, if you wanted to jump into the question period, that would be a great time for it.
Okay. Great. Well, the connection's been really good. Up on the bridge, it was a really poor connection on the bridge. I'm just waiting a second just to see how the connection is here, just to make sure this is a good spot. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, maybe we can. Okay, we can go down more so.
Yeah, let's try and go down a little bit because the audio is really
Okay.
patchy. Let's see if we go
Okay,
down a little bit, if we
Yeah.
get a little better connection.
Can go. Maybe we can go into our room or something like that.
Yeah, so while they make their way to a spot where we can do some questions, if you're tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy. Use the chat sidebar, the question bar, and send in some questions. If you're with us backstage, we have a great group of classrooms live with us backstage. If you send in your questions via the private chat, we will work some of those questions in. And then I know we have our Thunder Bay class who I can see nice front and center. I'll bring you guys in to ask some questions in just a moment as well. So if you're on YouTube, use the chat sidebar, send us in some questions. If you are joining us backstage, like many of our classrooms across the Arctic are, use the private chat and send us questions there in the private chat. And then, yeah, we'll get some questions. It looks like the signal's getting much better now that you've moved to a different location. Can you still hear me nice and clear?
Yes.
Perfect.
I think we're gonna go to the room where we started, so it's gonna
Excellent.
be way better.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Well, let's get some Q&A going. So the first question I had here was from a little bit earlier on. We had some grade 7B at Oxfordnet Middle School joining us, and they want to know that very first lab that we looked at. Was that a lab for climate change research? What was happening in that lab?
Sorry, I think we lost you for a second.
Yeah, that's okay. So our grade 7s would like to know that very first lab we looked at the beginning. Is that a lab where there's climate change research going on?
I think with the geology lab, essentially that does translate to sort of climate. I don't want to say climate change research. Essentially, all of the research on board is kind of doubling into a climate research. But so basically that room you can kind of oversee the sort of geological history of Fox Basin, which is where we're in. So that can tell you what the past was like and compare that to the future. So most definitely.
Okay, I have a whole series of questions here in the chat, but before I get to them, I want to bring in, we've got some grade 4s here joining us all the way from Thunder Bay.
Oh.
How are we doing, grade 4s? All right. Do you have a question for us?
Yes.
Okay, nice and loud.
How old is the ship?
Okay, how old is the ship?
That is a very good question that I don't particularly have the answer to. I want to say she's probably just well over 50 years old. I could definitely get that information to you guys at a later time. We can have that prepared.
Do you have your phone or no?
I could read.
I mean, we
look it
can
up.
check
I can
quickly.
look it up really quick.
Sure. I imagine it's probably an older ship, but there's probably constantly new gear being put on, new technology,
Yes.
new computers, new equipment. So the ship may be a bit older, but I bet all the gear on it's pretty new and pretty high tech. Oh, here we go. 2003. There was a retrofit in 2003.
Yeah.
So it's now 20 years old.
I think the original bones of the ship was built in 1979, it's saying, so 46. With some parts of the ship, I'm sure.
All right, very cool. What do you think, Thunder Bay? You have another question there before we go back to the chat?
How long at a time are you on the ship?
Oh, did
Can
you
you
catch
say
that?
that again?
How long is your expedition, the time you'll be on the ship?
Oh, good question. So we all boarded the ship on October 2nd, and we're going to be on the ship and in Quebec on October 22nd. So essentially about 3 weeks we've been on or are going to be on board.
All right, awesome stuff. Thanks, Thunder Bay. Maybe we'll check in a little bit and see if you have another question for us. I'm going to go back to the chat because I have lots of questions here in the chat. Don't be shy to send in questions, but let's start off first here. Okay, let's get the food question out of the way. Is there a chef? What are you guys eating? Is it still fresh food? What's going on?
Yeah, so we do have a chef. We have 3 chefs, I believe. We have a pastry chef and a head chef, and I believe whatever the second mate would be to that. So we have a group of 3 who have been working very hard to feeding us. And some examples of some of the things we've eaten. So we got to have some turkey on Thanksgiving, so that was great. Last night we had some Arctic char. We've had poutine and just like a number of different cool and yummy deliciousness. And the second part to that question was, sorry, if everything's fresh. Yeah.
Do you still have like fruits and vegetables, or are those run out already?
Yeah, no, we still have a bunch of fruit and vegetables. So when we boarded the ship on the 2nd, that plane, the chartered flight that brought everybody to Resolute, which is where we boarded, also brought a whole bunch of our produce that we'll need throughout the leg. So we have a bunch of apples, oranges, we got eggplant, asparagus, a whole bunch of delicious fresh fruits and vegetables.
All right. We have some grade 5, 6s hanging out with us from École de Trois Soleils in Iqaluit, and they would like to know, can you remind us where the destination, the final destination is for this expedition? and what the schedule looks like along the way.
Yeah, definitely. So we started in Resolute Bay, and then we made our way around and had a quick stop in Igloolik. Unfortunately, our Igloolik, we were able to get some of our science team into the community, but we were scheduled to have some of the schools come on board, but the weather wasn't looking so good, so we had to cancel that operations. But we stopped in Igloolik for a bit, and along that way we did a few samples, and then we came down into Fox Basin, which is coming around near Nauyet. And now our final destination will be Quebec City. And I believe our final station will be done tonight. And then we have a 5-day leg or voyage into Quebec City.
All right.
I think overall, at least for me personally, with the water sampling, we had about 40 stations that we've done from Resolute to where we are now.
Okay. Let's see. 6A in Igloolik, they would like to know about staying out on the ocean. So how many days in total will the ship have been out on the ocean?
I believe that would be 20 days.
20 days in total. All right. Let's see. So the captains, crew, are they on the entire duration? Do they rotate off at different times? How does that work? This is a question from YouTube.
Yeah, so we have the same crew through the entire duration of leg 5, which is what the voyage on that we're on now. But they do take shifts. So we have a night shift crew and a day shift crew, and I believe halfway through they do switch. And our captain we have our female captain, which I've never experienced on a ship before, which is great. She does amazing work, and she's running the ship excellently. She makes all the good calls and all the right choices to keep us safe and make sure that our science operations go on. So we have one crew that take turns for night and day.
All right. What about seasickness? Our grade 5/6s are curious about anyone getting seasick on the voyage.
The first night that we had a little bit of choppy waters, so that was kind of dive in the deep end for a lot of us. So we had a few people get kind of sick at that point. But a few days ago, we had very bad weather. So I think the waves came up to like 3 meters, maybe 3 to 5 in some places. So the boat was kind of rocking like this the whole time. And a lot of us were taking a lot of gravel and all the supplements to kind of help subside the seasickness. But and a lot of us also just slept a lot just to kind of get through it. So seasickness was felt.
Yeah, I just noticed our grade 5/6s, their camera's connected, so I want to see them. Let's give a big wave. 5/6s, how we doing? Do you have a question you'd like to ask if you unmute your microphone? I can come back and check too if you need a minute. Oh, there they are. Hey, 5/6s.
Hi. Qui veut poser une question? Olivia, pose la question pour eux.
Do you guys eat, like, you guys take fish from the ocean and maybe eat them?
Oh, I think I got that. Is anybody fishing on the ship, and would you eat anything that was caught?
Oh, that is a very good question. So we're not fishing for consumption. We are fishing for some sampling. I believe our previous net that was done 2 days ago or a day ago, we actually finally got some fish, because not very often that on these expeditions that people do. So it's very lucky that we did get the fish that we did, but a lot of them were too small to eat. So I don't think that that's something that we're allowed to do, because while they're working with the fish, I believe, there's maybe some chemicals and stuff involved and cross contamination. So it's not safe to eat the fish once they're caught and processed.
All right. Well, 5/6 great to see you there in Iqaluit. And thanks for those great questions in the chat. Very cool. If you want to come on camera again before we sign off, just let me know in the chat and I'll bring your crew back in. Let's go back to some of our questions from our Arctic classrooms. Polar bears. Have you seen any polar bears on this journey?
Yeah, we saw there was one polar bear sighting. It was from very, very far away. So the person with the binos who had the luxury of seeing of seeing the polar bear, but not all of the rest of us did. But there was one sighting.
All right. This question's from YouTube. I think this is a great one. You're collecting a whole bunch of research, a whole bunch of data. What happens when you get back? Where does it go? How is it shared?
Yeah, so so when we get back ashore, there's a whole demobilization process. So that's where all the data is going to be processed. That's where a lot of the equipment is going to be cleaned, washed, and prepared for the next voyage, which I believe is next year because I think this is the last one. Essentially, this data right now is at the is raw data, so there needs to be some processing before we essentially share to the public. I can't necessarily speak on behalf of that too much, but to my understanding, that there's a lot of researchers here who are working on their masters and their PhDs. So once they process all that data and make their papers, then that would then be shared. So I believe it'll be some time before a lot of this stuff is shared. But I believe on the Amundsen Science website, they also have some options to view some of the data that's been collected, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Okay, so just to our 6As who are asking in the chat, they want to see the captain's cabin, but I have a feeling that's probably not allowed. And you saw how quiet we had to be on the bridge because there's so many operations going on. So there are a few rules to be followed, and I have a feeling that raiding the captain's cabin would probably be a rule that we can't break, which is fair enough. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I will note that the higher in rank that you get on the ship, the more, I guess, luxurious or nice the cabins become. So the crew and the science team share bunks, but as we get higher in rank, there's individuals who have their own rooms. So the captain definitely has a room all to herself.
Okay, so back to our 7Bs middle school in Axernet. They would like to know. So we saw a couple people on board the ship. Can you tell us about some other jobs that people might be doing on the ship?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier of the box coring equipment. So that researcher, I believe, was also in the acquisition room when we were in there, but his name is Steven, and he oversees sort of our sediment projects. We also have people on board. I mentioned our bird observer. There we go. That's the word. And with the Canadian Coast Guard crew, we have deckhands, we have the navigational guys. There's a variety of different jobs on board. We also have cleaners who kind of make sure that the ship is in a cleanly and workable space. We also have what else do we have on board? We have a lot of water samplers on board for various projects.
Yeah, I imagine there's some engineers making sure the engine is doing its thing. What about artists? Do you have any artists on board this time around?
We did have an artist on board. We dropped her off in her community. So Kingite, sorry. Yeah, Kingite, so Cape Dorset. So she was on board. She was on board from Resolute until we dropped her off, I believe, yesterday morning. So she was on board, kind of understanding the feasibility of what it's like to have artists and whether or not this is something that can continue on. And she had a great experience, and I think she's going to take back a lot of information. And hopefully, this is something that is able to continue as we move forward.
All right. Grade 6B are hanging out with us backstage, and they're wondering if there's any Inuit researchers on the ship.
I guess you could technically consider myself one of those researchers. I'm essentially helping out with all of our water sampling, and I am of Inuit descent. I'm from I've been living in Iqaluit the past few years. I believe our Iqaluit crew might recognize me as the basketball coach for the girls high school team. I'm originally from Cambridge Bay, and I am a woman in science. I did my degree at Dalhousie University, and I've been working with the Coast Guard as my day job, but I decided to switch things up and kind of dive into that my science background again. So that's why I'm here.
All right. Very cool. Our 5-6s at Trois Soleil would like to ask another question, so I'm going to bring them in. it looks like you have a question or two in the chat. So if you'd like to ask those questions, we'd love to hear you.
Ok, tu veux pas le faire? Ok, vas-y.
How many people are on the crew?
All right. How big is the crew? How many people are on board?
40 Coast Guard people, and now with 29, but usually with 40.
Okay.
29 scientists.
Okay. Currently on board, we have 29 scientists and I believe 40 crew members from the Canadian Coast Guard. So do the math, put them together. But usually it would be a 40-40. So 40 scientists and 40 crew members. But this leg, we just have reduced amount of scientists. So just, yeah, usually about 80 people.
All right. 5-6, do you want to ask one more of your questions? I can see you have a couple in the chat.
Do you guys ever get lonely? So when you guys
Okay, do you ever get lonely, like miss your family and thing? And if that happens, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I know over the years, the internet has improved tremendously on the Coast Guard or on the Amundsen. So we are able to connect with family and chat on the phone. We have no cell service, but we can Wi-Fi call and connect with them, emails or on Facebook Messenger. So having access to them in that way, it helps so much with the loneliness. But I was on the ship in 2015 when the internet was not accessible, so that loneliness was a little hard, but we have an amazing crew, we have amazing people on board, and we make friends and we help each other through the loneliness.
All right. Awesome. 5-6s, thank you for those great questions. I've got one more here on YouTube. What's it like right now? What kind of cycle is it? Are you having long days, long nights? What's going on right now in that part of the Arctic?
Okay, yeah, so our days are becoming shorter, so definitely our nights are getting longer. In terms of like our operational schedule, we just completed an overnight station, so we had worked from 11 p.m. all the way up until 8:30 a.m. and then the day starts all over again. But we are coming into that dark period as we get a little bit closer to the north. But now that we're heading back south, pretty soon I think the days will resemble probably what you're experiencing back home.
All right. Another treat. 7B's got their microphone turned on, or sorry, their camera. Hey, 7B, how you doing?
Good.
Good. But while we have you, is there a question you'd want to ask?
Anyone?
When you're how are you guys up in the winter? If so, how long are you up there and how do you get through the ice?
Okay, so he's wondering, are you going to be there at all in the winter, and how would you get through the ice if you were?
Okay, so first part of that question, we are not on board all winter. We get off on the 22nd of October, so we stop in Quebec. So the Amundsen is known for being one of our bigger ice-breaking ships on the Coast Guard fleet. So I'm not sure exactly what thickness that we can get through, but we did do a little tiny bit of ice breaking when we were in the Igloolik Resolute area, but nothing major. But we won't be doing any real iceberg expeditions, to my understanding.
In the winter, the ship helps moves other ships, so it helps with other ships that carry cargoes to other part of Canada. So it helps just breaking ice, but
And so-
there's no. Sorry, yeah, there's no scientific operation during winter.
Okay, and just to give classrooms an idea, it's not that you're kind of breaking the ice. Is it more that the ship kind of goes on top and then kind of pushes down on the ice? Is that how it works?
Yeah, the mechanism, yeah. So on the ship here, this is ice. The ship will come up, smash down, and that ice will break and move, and that way we create a path for ships to follow in behind.
All right, very cool. Is that a hand I see in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your dangerous ever excursion?
Okay, so danger. Have you experienced any danger on board the ship?
Danger. So working in a remote location, there's always some form of danger on ships. So one of the biggest dangers I think that we could experience is falling overboard. So we always have to make sure that we're a good distance from the side of the ship, and if we're doing any operations that require us to kind of look over or reach over the side of the ship, that we're tethered in. So, and usually it's the Coast Guard crew that deals with all of that, deals with those operations, because they're trained specialists and they have all of the safety courses and certificates to ensure that all the operations run smoothly without any harm to ourselves or to the equipment.
All right. Well, 7B, it was great to see you. Thank you so much for those great questions.
Thank you.
I want to grab one more here. I think this is a great one to end off on from our 6As in Igloolik. They would like to know, what is the best part about your job, what you're doing there out in the field?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I think I can say this maybe about me personally, and then maybe we'll also let Judith explain what her best part
Sure.
is. I think for me, it's a really fun way to get back to what I went to school for. So it's very exciting that I'm involved in all of this I don't want to say revolutionary, but all this really exciting science that's happening to kind of help our communities in the Arctic and kind of help inform what the future holds for us in the Arctic. So I think that's a really great thing to be a part of. And just being at sea is also really cool and obscure and experience all on its own. It's not something everyone gets to do. So if you guys are interested, like, look into this field of work, and I think you won't regret it.
All right.
Yeah. And if you want to know, for me, it's kind of the same as Alicia. So just being in the Arctic, on board, and all the landscape are so beautiful. But mostly for me is the people. So meeting new people and making new friends. It's a really cool human experience. So yeah, that'll be it for me.
All right. Very cool. Well, I want to start off with a huge shout out to our classrooms. I didn't know how many would be able to join us today, but we had, I would say, 10 to 12 classrooms from different places in the Arctic hanging out backstage. We had a few classrooms in Ontario joining us backstage, which was great. And then we had a good little chat going on YouTube as well, which is awesome. So a huge shout out to our science communicators on board, our Amundsen science team. That was awesome today. Thank you so much for bringing us to the Arctic one more time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Huge shout out to our classrooms. Thank you for hanging out backstage with us. Thank you for all those great questions. And we're going to sign off for now. And we wish you the best of luck on the rest of the journey back to Quebec. Thanks, everyone.
Yay, thank you. Bye-bye.